My name is Dan Waters, and I'd like to talk to you about the rule of thirds today. The idea behind the rule of thirds is you divide your picture area up into three equal parts, a tic-tac-toe board, both vertically and horizontally. And you put any strong compositional elements along one of these lines. And any points of interest should go right on one of these 4 points. What beginners tend to do is they put the point of interest or the subject right dead center. It's, they're thinking about the subject. They center it up in the viewfinder. There's the little viewing screen, the focusing screen acts like a target almost. This is a shot I took of the Corolla Lighthouse in Currituck. I used this strong compositional element and I put it right on one of the thirds. And then also where the trees are, that was another one of the thirds. And I used the reflection. This is even close to a third here. Here's a shot I took in Wanchese, North Carolina, a quaint little fishing village. I teach a lot of workshops and I've done a number of them there. And this uses the rule of thirds also. We set up this basket and I made sure that I didn't have it, the whole thing centered. It gives you a room to look around. Your eye tends to move around and circle around in the image. And that's why I kind of like that. And since I live at the beach, there are lots of beach shots that I take. And this one I got of this piece of driftwood that had floated up and with the waves moving, long exposure. And I use the rule of thirds here pretty well. I put the top of the horizon. There wasn't much interest in the sky, so I put the horizon line near the top. Most of my interest is this log, so I had the horizon higher on the top third line. And then you can see that this log, this point of interest here, is right along this line here. It doesn't really extend out too close to the side, so there's room for your eye to follow along and move around. This shot here, I actually dug a hole in the sand in order to photograph this so that I had a little different perspective. And I used the rule of thirds here. It's not exact, but it's close enough. This line's near a third, and this is closer to this side of the picture than this side. And it gives your eye room to move around and look at the picture. Whenever you have people in an image, you would like to have them right at one of the points of interest if they don't fill the frame, and looking into the image. If she was looking this way, I would put her over on this point of interest instead of over here. But she's looking into the image. It gives you plenty of room, and the horizon line's right on one of the thirds. This works with people as well as animals. You would want the dog to be, if the dog was looking out of the picture, you don't want him to looking out of the picture. It leads the viewer out of the frame. You want the viewer to be engaged with your picture. So whenever you have a subject that is facing, can tell which direction it's facing, you would want it to be looking into the image. So this gives you plenty of room for it to look in. And I keep the eyes very close to the third line. Whenever you see eyes in a subject, you want those near one of those points of interest, because that's the most important part of the picture. You have to have the eyes sharp and near a point of interest so that people will notice it a little better. It gives the eye a little room to move around the image. Here's another one underneath of Avalon Pier, and that's in Kill Devil Hills. And this one I've used the rule of thirds slightly anyhow. This line here is on it. This strong compositional element is right near a third, but as you notice, the horizon's dead center. Well, I couldn't tip it up too much. I couldn't tip it down too far to get the horizon up near the third. I would have lost a lot of interest up here. So you have to kind of go with the photograph also. You can't just blindly do the rule of thirds. You have to look at the photograph and then kind of figure it out. And it's a guideline, and that's what you're trying to do, is make your photos more interesting to the viewer. And this is a rule of thirds, follows the rule of thirds pretty well also. The sun, the brightest part of this image, is right near one of the third points. This line here is near a third also, and the edge of the boat up here is kind of near a third. So it's not exact, but it's pretty close to a rule of thirds also. And you really want the brightest point of the image. That's where your eye tends to go first in an image. You want that to be near one of the third lines. Here's another shot I took in Wanchese. These baskets, crab baskets, all stacked up. I used this line as a strong compositional element, and I put that right at one of the thirds. The flat lids here are at another third, so it almost forms a L or a frame around these round circular lids. So it's a frame within a frame sort of thing, and that always works out well when you're doing composition. This one I used the rule of thirds also. The umbrella here this is on one of the third lines. Even though the horizon's pretty centered, I used the bright sun near one of the third spots so that you almost have a counterpoint here, this point and this point. And when you do that, you want them kitty corner to each other. You don't want them on the same plane. It works better when they're kitty corner. Here's another shot. This is in Manteo, North Carolina. It's a replica of a screw pile type lighthouse in Manteo. Roanoke Marshes Light, it's called. And I got this shot early morning. I was teaching a workshop, and I used the rule of thirds here, even though again the horizon's not up or down, it's pretty centered. But the strong compositional element really gives you a rule of thirds kind of feeling to it. This, and then where is the sun? It's right on the point there, and then over here it's almost kitty corner again. Over here where the reflection is pretty interesting. So that kind of follows the rule of thirds also. Now, rules are made to be broken, and I think that this one worked better. I consciously said, okay, I'm going to break the rule of thirds. I want everything centered, and I want it dead center. I want that perspective to go out into the picture to the far distance. And I consciously said, let's put the subject dead center. Now, I would do that if you consciously think to yourself it's going to make a better photograph. If you aren't sure if it's going to make a better photograph, take two. Try one with it off to the side on one of the rule of thirds and one in the center. But without consciously making up my mind to put it there, don't just point the camera at it and have it centered and take a picture. Always make the subject in one of these points. If you're going to just point the camera, use one of these points of interest to put your subject. And here's another one where I consciously said, this looks like a centered shot, and I zoomed the camera. The reason all these streaks are here is I zoomed the camera while the shutter was still open, and it kind of everything zoomed right into the center. All these pilings kind of line up to the center. So I made this one centered also. And this shot here, I got a flashlight from Home Depot, that signaling light. It had a blue on the end, a blue tube sort of that would lit up, and we tied a string to it. And you see the guy's feet here, and we spun it around and made, as he walked backwards, and tried to keep it spinning over the same exact spot, and it makes a globe when you're able to do that just right. And I made sure that this one was centered too. I just thought it gives you more of a, this round globe right in the center just seemed a little better to me. So, and that's it. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. If you find yourself lucky enough to vacation on the Outer Banks of North Carolina and want to take a photo workshop, be sure to visit www.dlwaters.com. Thanks.